Hello and welcome to my live chat, our Tuesdays at 7 live chat. Thank you for joining me, Stephen Englander, and as usual we're going to cover topics of business to see if we can make your business a little bit better. A lot of these types of business shows try to show you how you can make millions overnight. I'm not one of those people. I'm not looking to help you make millions overnight. I'm terribly sorry about that. I'm just trying to help you to make your business a little bit better. And if you get into the business of making your business a little bit better, then you'll soon get into the business of making your business a lot better. But, you know, we've got Halloween coming up, and there's lots of psychic energies in the air. So I want to introduce you to a new concept. So just bear with me. What I want you to do now, because I'm going to show you how to make money the psychic way, the proper way. So I want you to go to your computer, hug the monitor. Just put your arms around the monitor. Seriously, it'll have an effect. You won't believe it. So hug the monitor. Now, hopefully you're doing that. You're all hugging the monitor now. You've got your arms around it. You can feel how smooth and soft the computer is. Now, I want you to say in your head, out loud is better, but say it in your head, that thank you, computer, because you're now going to give me all the money I could ever want. You're going to make the business so incredibly successful that you will never want to do anything else. And imagine the big house or the swimming pool or the villa in the south of France that you're going to buy. Okay, close your eyes. Count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, there we are. Open your eyes, sit back down, and I'm going to ask you something. Has it worked? Are you rich? Have you got more money than you ever want? What's that? What do you say? No. Oh, it's not worked. Oh, well, never mind. But this is a lesson for you. No easy answers. You've got to listen to me. So let's go on with the show. Okay, so we've had an interesting week this week because I don't know if you're tuning into some of our podcasts between the spreadsheets, but we take people running businesses or advising on businesses and have a chat with them. And it's been an interesting week this week. So we've had a great guy from Canada. He's living in Sheffield at the moment. Ches. He's a stress management professional, and he was giving me some interesting facts this week. For instance, the amount of suicides in builders and people in the construction business outweigh from every other profession. I thought it was accountants. Maybe it should be accountants. But no, he was saying it's amazing how many people in the building businesses, from retail, from every form of retail or business endeavour, the amount of people that come in that are suffering from stress and anxiety. And I've always maintained that business, like life, is all in your head. And if you're stressed out, then you don't focus too well. So part of our little organisation is we're glad to meet people like Ches that you can connect with and discuss any stress matters, or even join one of our counselling groups and have a chat. There we go, from accountants and business advisors to stress and anxiety management people. But it is important. Do bear that in mind. Stress is a massive issue with people out there, and it's a massive reason why people never go on in life or never attempt anything new or never persevere with things. It's so much easier just to give in. Just don't give in because of that. Talk it through. It's not as bad as you think. If you remember last week, we talked about the theory of success. So maybe revisit last week's podcast and see what you think. We also met a very interesting gentleman called Richie Allen. The podcasts are out live at the moment. You can go and see them. Richie's a radio host and a professional, and he gave me some pointers and gave me lots of encouragement that he thinks I'm going the right way. He's got some very controversial views, and his shows are informative and amusing, depending on where you sit. So do have a look at Richie. Go and look at the Richie Allen Show. We've also got our Hayden Hewitt, who's always involved. In fact, he's sat behind the camera at the moment, and Hayden has a show called Trigger Warning. I think if you go to his YouTube and subscribe, he'll send you notices when he's filming. And I'm not promoting all these people, but I just think all these things are good to watch and get involved with, and you'll see why as we go through this tonight's chit chat. So then a particularly interesting young man called Danny. He's only in his early 20s, and he told me a few things about himself, which I'm not going to reveal on camera. They are on his show, but it's go and watch it. But he's only in his early 20s, and he's already a radio host, and he's gone online with a new idea selling dice from Dungeons and Dragons. And after running that since lockdown, he's also making a living out of it. So another person, to show you that there is business out there, and there's always room for innovation, no matter how young or old you are. I mean, looking at the other side, you might have watched my dad's video, who is now 78, and he's just opened up a new warehouse. So wherever you are, do keep going. And of course, we interviewed Chris last week, who is also a radio host. A lot of radio hosts out there, and he's been selling nutrition online, which is also really, really interesting. James is another gentleman that joined us, who used to be a boxer, and he's now a professional coach. But the interesting thing about him is that he went from living on the streets to being a very successful estate agent, and then turned into business coach. So guys, it's out there. It really is out there. Just do what you're supposed to do, and it's out there. Now, there are lots of ways of measuring things. It's not just about measurement. There's also lots of things that you've got to realise that you've got to do. It's like any profession, any study, any area of discipline. There are rules to the game. There are things that you should be doing. So one of the first things to do is to have a vision statement and written goals. Now, they should be written because that makes it real. We can all talk about our goals, what we want, but the minute you put them down, write them down, then you start the process of them becoming real. We always need to learn. We need to continue learning all the time. And as you know, I work with a few coaches, and the first thing they'll say, lifelong learning. Learning isn't just for Christmas. Pick up a book, it's for life. There's other areas that I want you to be aware of, like metrics and key performance indicators, KPIs. And I want you to really take these to heart, because you need to measure what you're going to do. I say to our sales support people all the time, it's great you've done that, it's great you've generated that lead, but I need it in my sales software, because I need to know where the lead came from, how long it took nurturing, what were the key triggers, how many people we've got to talk to before we actually get movement to the next level of the sales funnel. So all these things need to be measured. And the reason why that is because anything to do with sales and marketing is incredibly expensive. And at the end of the day, it's mostly money down the drain. So we're always testing what works, what doesn't work. So the ROI, or the return on investment, I love the word investment for this. To me, it's an expense, it's not an investment, but most people call it an investment. So But the return is very quickly. And what a lot of marketing people will say, and they do have a point, is that you've got to look at the long-term recovery rather than a short-term recovery. But I think you need a focused strategy to say, this is how we measure ROI, 1, 2, 3, and this is the time frame we measure it in. I mean, what I'm doing at the moment with all these videos is a form of marketing. It does have a form of ROI, but it's not that easy to measure. It's something that we measure over time. So it's a more branding type thing, and it's a more a customer engagement service. So it's all about giving my clients and beyond a little bit more. So it's not really the direct marketing tool I'm talking about. I'm talking about something like, if you put 1,000 leaflets out there, you've got a direct cost, and you can measure. If you don't get a reply within a week or two, then you're not going to get any more. So you've got a direct area of measurement, and that's something we've got to be very conscious of. Pay attention to accounting. Not only do we have problems with HMRC and general measurement of anything if the accounting records are wrong? I mean, if you don't have the invoice ready, HMRC won't let you claim the VAT back, and then you'll have problems setting it against your profits, and you'll end up paying more tax as well as penalties. But what's she spending as well? Because a lot of us spend money on things that we don't need to spend. You know, it's quite often. I mean, we were talking before the show about refitting the studio, and we're thinking, do we really need to spend £10,000 on that camera? Or is there something that will do the job just as good, but it's only going to be £1,500? It's not as fancy and it's not as pretty, but it does the job. And maybe this is what we should be looking at. Look at what gives you a return and not what looks pretty, or don't be so quick to part with money unless you're getting something back from it. You don't always have to get a direct return. Sometimes it can just save time and hassle, and that's enough. And of course, you know, in the 21st century, we have to embrace technology. So just make sure that if a machine can do it, and it can do it cheaper, and it can do it better, then be open to that. And there's a lot of very good software out of there. So just going back to part of the problems we have of measuring anything and setting goals is our own personal financial goals. I mean, why are we doing what we do if it's not for some form of financial reward? You know, you've got bills to pay, you've got aspirations, you want that villa in the south of France. And where we start is an income and expenditure form. And an income and expenditure form is something that it's very important. I mean, I do one every year just to see where I am and compare it, but it's a good discipline and nobody wants to do it. And the reason we do it is really so that we can make sure that we're hitting financial targets. That's making sure that the business is actually giving you that income that you need for subsistence. You know, forget the villa in France. Are you taking enough money that you can put food on the table or pay the mortgage or the rent? That's important. But we also need it to say, well, you know, if I want a villa in France, I'm going to need to be earning X amount more. And that then gives us some targets to start hitting. I mean, once we know what we need to be earning, we can then start looking at what you would like the business to achieve, and can the business actually achieve that? I mean, you'd be surprised of how many people don't actually want to achieve that. And then we've got to look at that, which goes back to the little bit of counselling and seeing what really are you up about. Is your blueprint here, but what you really want is there. You know, why don't the two mix? But it's amazing how many people do self-sabotage, especially when it comes to that point. And then we've got to start measuring how we actually go ahead and achieve this, and start putting the plans of actions out there, which I think is very, very important. So the first thing we have to do is start measuring where you are. Now, I know a lot of people in our coaching groups, they are starting to fill these forms in. Don't be scared of them. You know, it's a discipline. But if people don't want to do it just by downloading the spreadsheet that I'm giving to people, then by all means contact us and we'll go through it with you. We'll do the actual physical writing. But it is a major part of finding, you know, where you want to go. I mean, you know, before you go anywhere, you've got to know where you are now. You know, if you're in Glasgow, if you want to get to Glasgow, and you ask for someone for directions, I think the first question is, well, where are you now? Because obviously it's a different set of directions if you're going from Manchester to Glasgow as if you're going from, say, Edinburgh to Glasgow. They're the only two Scottish places I know, so forgive me on that one. The main thing here, and I know that at the moment what we're doing is we're going through reviews with people, and one of the first things we ask is, what's the dream? So what is it that you want? I mean, write down your dream. Everything, remember, it doesn't become real until it's actually written down. So don't forget that. Now, I know in the subtitles for tonight's broadcast, I put, how do you generate customers? There is one massive way of generating customers, retaining customers, and maximising profits with customers. Anyone know what it is? I'll just see if anyone's answering that question. No one's answering that question. But it's very, very simple, and you're going to look at it and you're going to go, oh, why are you even saying that? And the answer is good customer service. Just simple as that. Great customer service. What that means is that you will end up getting a recommendation. People always recommend you. They'll always doesn't matter what you charge. In fact, it's a way of putting the prices up as well a little bit, because people know they're going to get a good job. But I'll come back to that in a minute about pricing. Recommendations is the best way of getting business they can possibly get, and if it's come from because you do a constant good job for people, then you won't have to do anything else. You won't have to spend any money on marketing, because recommendation is nothing. I mean, it's not that easy to find good people doing anything. So if I get hold of someone that does a good job, then that's it. I don't go anywhere else. I don't even look. You can nurture. You don't even need to nurture work from them, because if you, as well as obviously you do a good job, you can always keep in touch with people. So if you fitted someone's curtains in the dining room, then in 6 months later you can give them a ring and say, do you want me to fit them in the bedrooms now? They've got you on call. So people like that, keeping in touch, looking after clients, knowing who your clients are, I mentioned clients, that clients are really, call everybody a client, because clients are a personal service rather than just supplying a product. The other thing is if you do this type of thing where you look after your customers, you and perform a good service, you tend to become a master of what you do, a master of a few things or one thing, rather than a jack of all trades. And I think people appreciate that. And when people see you as a master of something, again, you can achieve a little bit of a higher price. You're not ripping anybody off, but you are achieving a little higher price. Now, to look at this further, what you've got to do is think to yourself, list all those things that make your customers happy. I'm talking about in relation to the product. So all the things that you do, obviously, if you're a tradesman, keeping something tidy is good, being reliable is good. All these things that you do over and above just repairing the sink. And it doesn't have to be a massive big list. It might just be a few things. I know when people phone my company, they appreciate a prompt reply or a prompt callback. They appreciate things being filed on time, and they appreciate being told what's next. It's only part of the job we're doing, but it's a little bit more to make those phone calls, and we all strive to do that and strive to do it better. Now, once you've got that list, so it might be that, look, for everyone that deals with me, I want to give them a copy of the book I've written. So that's one. Give them the book, give them flowers, give them a follow-up phone call, and put a price next to each one of these. It shouldn't be much. You shouldn't have to be spending more than a few percentage points of your total price on these things. But when you've added all of that together, when you've put all these things in the list, you can add them up. Now that's your customer value. That's your added value service, not VAT. That's your added value that you're giving customers that make them want to continue to dealing with you. You add that to the cost of supply. So if you buy a direct product, you add the product price, you add a fair profit, whether what your normal percentage markup is, and there's your product. And then make sure that you spend the additional amounts on doing what you sent. Remember the price of a stamp, remember the price of a call, maybe the price of having a sales support team. Add it all in, and then you've got a true price that will enable you to give the clients complete satisfaction. And invariably, a lot of people do actually do this in their head, but then they start cutting corners, and these are the first corners that are cut: customer satisfaction. And I think it's when you start cutting corners, you start getting complaints. You do get other complaints. It's not just because you're cutting corners on these niceties. It might be that you've got bad staffing. It might be you've got technical problems. It might be you've grown too quickly. But you do get, complaints are inevitable. When it does come to complaints, don't worry too much about them. Stand your ground. Apologise if necessary. Fix it. Don't worry about who's right and who's wrong. Fix it. If you have problems, deal with them. Don't hide away, and you'll find that people will respond better. But I've had arguments with clients. I try not to fall out with anybody over it, and over the years, some of the best clients and relations I've had have improved because there's been a problem and we've managed to sort it out. So this is all about building up trust, and I hope you like the idea about the adding the price list and adding the added services, because I don't think anybody ever actually thinks of that. And as usual, if you do want to help with any of this stuff, just let me know. So we're going to focus on client relationship. It's everything I ever say, everything in business, it's all about focusing on client relationships. The other things to look at is we are actually going to look at methods of generating leads and sales, because I think it's more important. It's not madly more important, but I think the focus is to generate leads rather than simply sales. Sales come from leads, so the more leads we get, the better we get at closing them. Vicky's she's now saying she'll have Dolmades, I don't know what they are, and sent a dish of them to my client who I purchased the grape leaves from. I did a short live video on his business page promoting the leaves. Okay, so you gave the client a present or something and then turned it into a marketing video. That's something that I'm happy doing. I'm happy working with people to build their databases, to give them some software, give them some blogging, give them some video so they can promote it all. So if you do want to appear on one of our Between the Spreadsheet shows, and I feel that you're interesting enough, we'll have a chat and we'll film you, and then you've got some media to put out there. I know I've mentioned it before, but try not to sell your products. Remember, they're always a solution for something. So it's the old trick of sell benefits, not features. So sell, like if I was selling videos, I wouldn't be selling the technical aspect of the videos. I'd be telling you what they can do for your business. So, and as I don't charge you for them, that's even better. If you've got to hire people, try and hire friendly people, especially if they're dealing with the public, because what you don't want is that person stood in front of them chewing gum and ignoring them. And I've got to say, I went to a coffee shop the other morning, and I just sat there outside. I go. I'm not going inside places at the moment, but I go in, and you know what? I'm a regular customer, but I was spent an hour waiting. After about 40 minutes, they came out and said, "Oh, I didn't see you sat there." I mean, yeah, of course they didn't. And I said, "I'll start with a coffee. I'm just a bit cold now." And and another 25 minutes, nobody came, so I just got in my car and drove away. So it's not the company's fault. It's probably some silly waitress that can't be bothered. But what have I written here? Be open when customers want to shop. Sorry, yeah, I didn't understand that. I remember going to Waterstones once, and it was about 5 o'clock, and people were beginning to leave, and I wanted a particular book, and I wanted to have a little walk round. And I remember I said to the assistant, "What time do you close?" And they said, "When there's no one in the shop anymore." I thought, okay, yeah. Be there, be in the shop, be there while customers want to shop. I know it puts hell on your personal life, but if you know that customers want to shop between 6 and 7, you don't want to be there, then make sure you're open with staff. In fact, I remember once, many years ago, my great Uncle Joe, he wasn't too well and he was dying. I know. And we all went round to his deathbed. It wasn't a pleasant time. I didn't know him that well, to be honest, but he looked up and he looked up at my sister and he says, "Sharon, are you here?" And she says, "Yes, I'm here, Uncle Joe." And he looked up to my mum and he said, "Gloria, are you here, Gloria?" And she said, Yes, I'm here, Uncle Joe." And she looked up to my dad and said, "Benny, are you here as well?" And he says, "Yes." And he said, "Well, if everyone's here, who's minding the shop?" So, I'm sorry, it never actually happened, but I thought it was a good story. The other thing is be contactable, and look at the things that annoy you. And I know I'm on the phone, and it's a particularly annoying thing when you've got that really annoying music, and then you're being passed around from pillar to post, and nobody answers the phone. So if it annoys you, don't you do it to your customers. You can't be fairer than that, really. And let's see what my next page says. Right, here's a good one. We work with a team of coaches because I believe we should. And I was having a chat with one of our lovely coaches the other day, Vicky, who is actually texting like mad here. And Vicky is based in Canada, and she came out with a comment the other day that after speaking to a lot of people, she's sort of noticed that they don't really recognise that they've got any competition, that no one thinks they've got any competition. But of course you've got competition. You've got competition all over the place. You've got competition competing with you for your regular products, but you've got competition from people that are competing with things that would do the job as well. I mean, is a Chinese restaurant competing with an Italian restaurant? Well, is it always a choice between Chinese and Italian? Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But are they direct competitors? Are off licenses competing with pubs? Are they competing with the supermarkets? So there's competition from all over the place, and it's not necessarily where you do think it's coming from. I've often found that you can work with the competition and you can work with different businesses. I mean, as long as you're not directly competing. But, you know, sometimes when I was a kid, you didn't have that many takeaways around. You had a few. It was mainly fish and chips. But if McDonald's opens up the road from a fish and chip shop, you can tell where my mind's going. Are they in direct competition? Well, it depends. If you can only have one takeaway a week or one takeaway a month, then maybe. But maybe one night a takeaway from McDonald's and maybe one night a takeaway from the local fish and chip shop. Maybe they're not in competition. Maybe they can work with each other. I knew a garage. He had an MOT bay not far from where my offices were, and there was a coffee shop at the end of the street, and he gave some vouchers from the coffee shop that if people were waiting to collect the car, the garage could give them a voucher. They'd go into the coffee shop and have a free cup of coffee. It worked for the coffee shop because that most people, when they go in for a cup of coffee, they might order a sandwich as well or other things, and it gets traffic through the door. It worked. The garage got people out of the place. They're not hung around. They're not getting annoyed if the car's running a bit late, and it's always a nice gesture. So do look at your competition, and you're not always going to get this, but it's back to the win-win situation from Stephen Covey. You can go and work with competition and other business. In fact, you should. You shouldn't make competition. It's silly. I'm not saying you should go and fix prices, but competition and price wars and fighting, it doesn't really get anyone anywhere. So competition can be a good thing, kick you up the pants, but it can also say, you know what, I'm not very good at supplying widgets in blue. Let them do that. I'll make widgets in red, and then maybe the two of us can get together and provide a whole widget solution. So, bear that in mind. But thanks for that advice, Vicky. I think it was very good. And I do believe in coaches. I think even though it is an expense, I think every athlete I've ever heard of, which isn't that many, because as you can see, I'm not that sporty, but they all have coaches. There's a lot of. I wonder how many big business people have at some time had a coach. I would imagine very few haven't had a coach at some point. And it's interesting that a lot of business people that have actually made a success of life or simply reached a point where they want to do something different, they do turn to coaching. And very successful ones they tend to be. We always like our coaches to have a bit of grey hair because they've been around the block a few times. But that doesn't really always make them a good coach. It depends what you want them for. Different coaches specialise in different things. But even though there's a cost attached to them, this is another ROI. So how quickly can you measure an increase in your business by using a coach? Some coaches, especially the ones we work with, will take you through that. But you've come into the business world. You're probably an expert in the business. So if you've got if you're a baker, I bet you're a really good baker, and you've been taught and trained and have much practice. But how much practice have you had in business? So a coach can guide you through this. So again, I don't get paid for recommending coaches. I just think you should have one. Now you can join. I mean, most of you are already a part of our coaching group if you're watching this. But there's no reason why you can't join one of our groups and learn a little bit more about how coaching goes. You have to excuse me while I have a drink. Now, I've got a choice of water or coffee, so I'm going for water. Now, we've mentioned competition, so I've jumped on that one. And, right, okay, let's just go to networking. Networking is, it's if you assume that doing business with people, being an expert in the field, and doing a fabulous service for people is always about communication and working with people. So get out there and network. Get out there and join groups, whether they're online at the moment or whatever. Give your opinions out there. Tell people how your products can benefit them. Don't just turn around and say, I'm the best florist here. Tell them a little bit about the flowers. Tell them a bit about the occasion. You know, if you're scouring through LinkedIn or Facebook, or you can often find people's birthdays or anniversaries, wish them an anniversary. So you better get your wife something. Do you want me to sort it out so you don't get into trouble and you forget? There's always links in. You know, use your databases. Back to the mechanic. If you know someone's MOT is due, put it in your database and contact them when the MOT is due. You've got to communicate with people. You've got to keep in touch with people. So you've got to keep talking and keep presenting everything. Every coach I've spoken to this week, every coach I ever speak to, they're always going on about reading stuff. Read a book. You know what's going on in the industry. Take it to heart. The more you know, the more you can sell. The more you can gear what people want. The more you can measure. The more you can gear. The more you can supply. The more you can measure. And it grows and grows and grows and grows. So just the more knowledge you have, the more the more things you can do, and the better it is for you. Now, we mentioned before about having complaints from clients, but setbacks aren't just about having complaints from clients. Setbacks often come from personal circumstances, divorce, fire, bankruptcy, all sorts of things. But you know what? Just get back up and get going again. Don't moan about it. Just, that which doesn't kill. He who can risk everything on a game of pitch and toss and lose and walk away and never say a word, just what can you do? There's no one there that's going to be responsible for you. You just got to shrug it off and get going. Nobody judges you in the end. The end's not over till it's over. Just keep going. I've been bankrupt. I've had problems. I've been divorced. I've had all sorts of health problems. I'm still here. Still keep going. It's no one's fault but my own. We just keep going. So, sorry, no lecture. Now, I'm just going to mention, we talked about before why we do things. And I think we're always looking for the end in mind. I know I keep referring to Stephen Covey because I think he's brilliant. But we before we do anything, look what we want out of it. Look at where we're going to end up. Now, a lot of people think, I'm going to sell this business. I'm going to make some money when I sell this business. But to be honest with you, selling a business is a bit like having a doctor looking for patients in a graveyard. They're not very easy to sell, especially small businesses. So you've got to prove that your business is worth selling, that you have got a great asset in that business. And if you've already got a business that can be sold, it means it's worth something to someone. So before you think to sell it, why not look at it as turning it into a sort of investment rather than just trying to sell it out as a trading business? Maybe turn it as a trading investment, which basically means that you're getting your dividends, you're running it, and you don't really have to work in it. So you're getting the best of both worlds. But that's the goal. That's the goal. Sometimes we all think we can sell this business for absolute fortunes, but most people don't. Maybe bricks and mortar sometimes becomes very valuable, but not always. So now I'm going to get my other sheets out here, and I'm just going to very quickly give you some easy tax savings ideas, things to make sure you do so that you don't pay too much tax. I will go into this more deeply with individuals. In fact, if you're already clients of Accounts Direct, we do it anyway. So, but it's something to consider. And if you are clients but we don't know this stuff, then do let me know. So maximise your personal allowances. That includes wives, kids, everybody else, as long as we can give them a legitimate role in the business. Do look at your pensions, because not only is it a good idea to have a pension, but it's also a great way of utilising tax benefits. And in fact, something like probably half of all legitimate tax schemes involve a pension or some sort of savings plan like that. Please make sure that things are filed on time with HMRC, because I've seen people pay more in penalties and interest than they have in actual tax. So things being late, there's no need for it. And if you are heading for things being late, do let me know, and I'll chase that up or make sure that you're not. The biggest problem we have is clients giving us paperwork on time to give us a chance to get them in, but we'll try and talk through that as well. If you are one of those culprits that bring paperwork last minute, maybe join one of our groups, and we'll incentivise you more to bring the paperwork in quicker. This doesn't really apply to a lot of my clients because we check this thoroughly, but we don't always know, because we don't know what other sorts of income or expenditure you've got. But do check your tax code. If you feel your tax code is wrong, you can always contact HMRC direct and they'll tell you, or let me know and I'll find out for you. I noticed, I said before in the programme, do keep receipts. It's silly not to. It really is. We can give you all sorts of software to help you doing this, and we've got all sorts of incentives to keep people going. I mean, there's so much software out there that we manage that you shouldn't have any problem getting paperwork to us. And definitely look at your dividend allowance, because there is the first few pounds of taking money out in a dividend is tax free, so you might as well look at that. I'm not going to get into the realm of financial advice, but I do know if you're looking for more long-term savings, things like ISAs also work pretty well. So before I sign off tonight, and because I think I might have bored you enough tonight, I just want to say that in future, if you've got any questions, do let me know. Do give me questions, because the more questions you ask me, whether it's on the live chat, through the groups, or contacting me direct, the more I can tailor these presentations to suit what you want. Now, if you go on to YouTube, make sure you go onto YouTube, follow me, subscribe to me, and we'll make sure you get all these notices on time to you, so you'll get all sorts of alerts. If you want to go on LinkedIn and Facebook and read the blogs and whatever, then please do. Now, I wasn't going to do this for next week, but I'm going to bring it forward. But I'm not bringing it forward. I'm going to introduce it for next week, because I think we're living in such uncertain times. So next week's presentation is going to have a large chunk of it devoted to COVID and what we can claim, what grants, what rights, what furlough, what everything, what we know now and what we think's coming. So that'll be the one for next week. So do tune in, and if you can't make it, do feel free to contact me directly. I can't always promise to get back to you straight away on that particular area, but I'll definitely will come back to you or subscribers to our newsletter, which will give you a copy of what we produce next week. So thank you very much for joining me tonight. I hope you have a lovely day. I hope things aren't too bad for you. Get yourself online more and more, and you'll ride this COVID thing out much, much easier. Thank you for joining me. Good night.